Good evening. I'm TV9's Denny Ferry. Thank you for joining us. We're about to take you on a tour of some of the most interesting and beautiful places in eastern Iowa. Every summer for the past 9 years, TV9 has adopted 37 communities through a program we call Our Town. This program gives us a chance to feature one of Iowa's greatest treasures, its people. During the next 60 minutes, we'll take you to Our Town Grundy Center, West Liberty, Belle, Plaine, and Elkader, and introduce you to the people who call our town home. We begin with Our Town Grundy Center. This east central Iowa community of more than 2,500 was founded in 1877. It lies along Black Hawk Creek in Grundy County, west of Waterloo. Grundy Center boasts of providing the good life for its residents. And those residents say the good life includes good doctors. Sometimes finding a good doctor in rural areas can be challenging, but that's not true for patients at Grundy Center Family Practice. As TV9's Jenna Miller shows us, the town's newest doctor brings a new service and an old-fashioned bedside manner to our town, Grundy Center.
Integra Health, this is Kathy. Hi.
It's always a friendly voice at the Grundy Center Family Practice.
Hey, Ben, what's going on?
One reason is Dr. Melissa Belle. She's been with the center for almost a year and says it already feels like home.
I love it. I love it.
Dr. Belle grew up in a small Missouri town. She was awarded a medical school scholarship that obligated her to begin her practice in a rural area. A great deal for her, seeing as she would have anyway.
Growing up in a small town, I wanted to get back to a small town. And I found out about this opportunity totally by accident, and it just wound up being the right place for me.
And Dr. Belle's patients agree she's in the right place and always at the right time.
The people here are very friendly, and the thing about it is they're always there to help you. No matter what time of day or night you call them, they're there.
So we just need to call her and tell her that.
Dr. Belle says she studied for years to know how to meet her patients' needs. Every patient.
My definition of family practice is I can take care of anybody that walks through my door. Be it a newborn that, is fussy or not eating, to a 90-year-old person with lung cancer.
And with only 2 doctors and 1 physician's assistant on the clock here in Grundy Center, Dr. Belle's days are long but fulfilling. That's because she's offering a service never before offered in Grundy Center.
When I came in, nobody in town did OB. And I was adamant that that wasn't an option. I was going to do OB. I was going to deliver babies.
4 babies so far, to be exact, with 1 expected every month for the next 8 months. Before Dr. Belle, women in Grundy Center had to take a trip to Marshalltown or Waterloo for OB care.
It's a nice opportunity for me because I get to do what I consider to be family practice, delivering a baby and then taking care of them as they grow up.
Basketball, maybe track.
And in return, Dr. Belle's community takes care of her by caring.
When I walk down the street or, drive down the street, people know me. And, I'm always saying, hi, Doc, how you doing? And that kind of thing. And I think I get to be more a part of their lives. And that was real important to me.
In fact, Dr. Belle hopes to be a part of her patients' entire lives. She hopes to stay in our town Grundy Center and achieve her ultimate goal.
That I have delivered a baby and taken care of them throughout their entire life and then delivered their child. To me, that's what a family practitioner is.
Specialists from larger cities stop in Grundy Center regularly to keep doctors current on the latest trends in diagnosis and treatment. Dr. Belle says she recommends rural service for any graduating medical student. She believes doctors in small towns form closer patient relationships and see cases they would never see in the city. The prairies that once surrounded Grundy Center are now fertile farmland. They frame the city in an agricultural history that is unique to Iowa. Spend some time in Grundy County and you'll learn new technologies and the old way of doing things can exist together. Combine that with efforts to preserve the Minnehaha, and you've got a farming community rich in tradition and progress.
Like many farmers, Grundy County farmers keep their hands in the soil like a preacher is called to preach. The challenges are always great. Who else in America buys at retail, sells at wholesale, and pays his own transportation each way? And then there's the weather.
We was expecting a drought a month ago, and now we're trying to get away from all the rain. So, and that's, I guess you never get callous to that. It's a stress after 26 years. Those things are still stressful, but the overall farming has been quite good to us.
Brothers Dick and Jim Lynch remember how it used to be.
A lot of neighboring going back and forth, and help the neighbor with the livestock chores or that type of stuff. And now it's more specialized and a bigger business, and that just doesn't take place anymore.
Farmers aren't as close or as netted together like they were.
Yeah.
It's definitely big business now, but Dick and Jim have adapted. With 13 landlords, they farm about 2,000 acres of corn and beans.
Grundy County has probably more contracted acres of crops than the majority of the counties in Iowa. And primarily seed corn, seed bean, and specialty crops.
If I want to increase the amount per acre, I can do it with this button here.
State-of-the-art tractors use satellites in outer space to help them chart land boundaries with an accuracy of a few feet. Weather and market information is at their fingertips. Genetically altered seed is controversial, but Dick and Jim use it. They believe it's good. Some seed has been altered to resist pesticides. Some corn seed actually contain 2 types of starch. There's some old-fashioned farm happening in these fields too. Dick and Jim rotate corn and beans on different fields each year using what's called the no-till system.
You see a lot of corn stalks left over on top of the ground from the last year's corn field, and all those stalks create little dams in the field, so when it rains hard they sort of hold the water back.
That system helps them participate in a local effort to preserve the Minnehaha Creek.
They're just trying to promote different water quality issues, soil conservation, getting the people in the community to try to become more aware of pesticides they might use.
What you see in these fields could make it onto your dinner table. Soy products, corn on the cob, any corn-related product. Even the cornstarch in your pudding could be Grundy grown.
Oh, the people in Grundy County are overall good, honest, hardworking people that still kind of live by the old handshake attitude.
Dick and Jim Lynch enjoy what they do, and they're glad they do it in our town, Grundy Center.
Besides corn and beans, a few Grundy County farmers also grow oats, wheat, and alfalfa. Well, they're running out of trophy space at Grundy Center High School. The girls' golf team just keeps on winning state championships. TV9's Scott Sable shows us how a winning combination makes a winning tradition.
Welcome to the Town and Country Golf Club in Grundy Center, where the high school girls have built a dynasty. Check this out. State champs in 91, 92, 96, 97, 98, 99, and do you think they got room for 2000 here? They might have to build another golf ball. Quite a feat, winning 5 state championships in a row. That hasn't been done many times, has it?
Well, in the history of girls athletics in Iowa, there's been one school that's won 6 straight state championships. That was the Dubuque school, and it happened to also be golf. We're the second school to ever win 5 titles in a row.
That's in all sports.
That's in all sports.
That's a dynasty.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you. That's a dynasty.
There's a reason Grundy Center is dominated on the golf course: dedication and a tremendous junior program.
Well, we have great community support here at Grundy Center, starting with our golf course, and we have a lot of people that come out to our meets and follow the girls. There's a lot of interest, and we have quality families, and they get their girls started early playing golf. We have a nice junior program, 5th through 8th grade, that I run, and that has 60 participants in it each year. It's also a scholarship program.
How many hours do you spend out here playing?
Too many. You know, lots of times we're here from after school 3:30 until 6:30 at night, sometimes 7 or 8, depending on. We'll go home for a supper break sometimes, and if we're playing really bad that day, we need lots of work, we'll come back or something like that. And on weekends, we usually play 18 holes and then practice for at least an hour or so with chipping and putting.
Grundy Center was led this year by senior Kylie Dirks, who was a medalist at state, firing back-to-back 76s at Jester Park in Des Moines. Is it hard for you to sit here and think about everything that you've accomplished? I mean, does it seem like mind-boggling?
Yeah, it's been great. It's amazing how much we've been able to do. We see it as kind of, normal, but it's really not.
No, it's not.
Well, Kylie is one of those unique people that just knows how to compete. And whenever she really has to play well. She does. I nickname her the Hammer. She knows how to put the hammer down. I equate her to, you know, one of those dogs at the dog track. They're a closer. And she knows how to close things out. And a prime example with her career here at Grundy Center, when we needed her most, in our closest challenge ever at state meet, she came through with 76-76, which happened to tie the lowest score ever in the history for Class 1A golfer. It tied a young lady by the name of Barb Thomas from Sibley, who went on to be a professional golfer.
Do you ever think about playing beyond college? I know it's early yet to think that.
I don't know. I've got a lot of other goals too, but my family always tells me that. Just this morning, I was told, go play on the tour.
The only thing the Grundy Center girls aren't good at doing is pulling practical jokes on their coach. He's too smart.
The Grundy Center girls golf team is not quite as good at practical jokes as they are at hitting 10-foot putts. Our tour of Eastern Iowa continues with our town, West Liberty. Diversity can cause friction in any community, but in West Liberty, that friction is overcome by attitudes and education. We'll show you how they do it. And watch out, NASCAR. The West Liberty Raceway is the place to be on Saturday nights. You'll meet a racing family who never misses a Saturday night. These stories and more are coming up on this Our Town special, so please stay with us. And welcome back to Our Town. Our tour of Eastern Iowa continues in West Liberty. Almost 3,000 people live in this southeast Iowa community. Founded in 1838, West Liberty lies about 20 miles east of Iowa City in Muscatine County. West Liberty is rich in diversity and prosperity. In fact, they have two town mottos, where diversity works and community on the move. Both are true. You know, a philosopher once said, the world is a book, and those who do not travel have read only one page. But if you travel to our town, West Liberty, you could say you've read several chapters. That's because almost 40% of the people in our town hail from countries like Mexico, Laos, and Vietnam. TV9's Renee Chu shows us how all these different people have made our town their town.
Whether you jump in, dive in, or gradually work your way in, taking the plunge is by no means an unusual way to beat the heat in any town. But in our town, West Liberty, you might say this way of preventing a meltdown creates a sort of melting pot, a place where minorities are a major presence, making up 40% of the 3,000 people who live here. West Liberty's diversity strikes a chord in both Amy and Gabrielle Galicia. The two met and married in Mexico, but Amy wanted to return to her home state of Iowa. They decided a year ago that a home in West Liberty is where they would both feel at home.
We want a place where we can speak Spanish and see the Mexican culture and at the same time have mine. And this is just a really good blend of Gabrielle's heritage and mine.
Was the first thing that we saw when we were driving for downtown. We saw like 3 or 4 Mexican restaurants, a lot of people, Hispanic people and Vietnamese people, and there's a lot of diversity.
That may be opposite of what usually comes to mind when people think of Iowa. Only 3.5% of Iowa's population is not white. But in West Liberty, 34% of the people are Hispanic. 5% are Asian, mostly Vietnamese or Laotian, and African Americans make up 1% of our town's population. How this diversity came to be can usually be traced to job opportunity. Tu Cao immigrated from Vietnam. His friend told him about jobs available at the former Lewis Rich plant, now West Liberty Foods.
It's a small town, but has a lot of good people.
And Governor Tom Vilsack met some of those good people when he stopped in our town to help refurbish the new Strand Theater last December. He also stopped to reflect on the town's unique nature.
And as I learn about how this community is dealing with the issues relative to that population, it gives me a better understanding of how the state will need to have to deal with the challenges and the opportunities that diversity presents.
If Bill Sack is right, West Liberty has a head start on meeting those challenges.
I think it's more everyone being open-minded and not looking at everyone as being a stranger or somebody different.
And some parents say different is good for their kids growing up in our town. Brandon Smith says his daughter is learning Spanish in her school's dual language program.
She's going to be more cultured, feel a lot more comfortable going out into the world when she grows up, I think. She'll be able to relate better to people.
And when Amy and Gabrielle decide to expand their family beyond 2, they say they wouldn't think of living anywhere else in the world.
This small town has so many representatives from so many different parts of the world that it's like a new little world here.
Our town city manager says the first wave of immigrants came in the mid-1800s, and as a result, there are 3rd and 4th generation minorities living in West Liberty, as well as new immigrants that came in the last 5 to 8 years. West Liberty's diversity is also evident in its school system. In each elementary classroom, you'll find 1 teacher, 1 group of students, and 2 different languages. West Liberty's dual language program is the only one of its kind in Iowa. Classroom lessons are taught in English and Spanish to children who speak just one of these languages fluently. TV9's Mike Wagner tells us how this bilingual approach benefits both groups of students.
Storytime is often the first activity of the day in Suzanne Ye's kindergarten class. On this day, the selection is the popular and familiar children's favorite, The Three Little Pigs, with one exception. It's in Spanish. It's a language some in the audience have spoken since birth. For others, it's a language they're still learning.
You use a lot of either gestures or concrete object for important parts of the story that they might not know. So like for brick, I made sure that a ladrillo, that they saw the brick. And for the straw house, we had paja. So you try to have either the real thing or lots of gestures because it's everyone's second language at some part of the day.
The classes are structured so that all of the subjects are taught in Spanish and English. The students learn both languages at such a young age that both become second nature. Can you remember a time when you didn't speak English? It's a concept that may sound potentially confusing for students, but teachers say it works.
Like all the content areas like math and science, they're done in both languages. So one day it might be Spanish, the following day it would be English. And you're just building, we don't repeat what we did the following day, but you're like going up the stair steps, you're building on what you've taught the previous day.
So how do you teach students in 2 languages during the same school day? You have 2 classrooms. On this side, everything is written in English and they speak in English. En este lado, hablan español. Teachers also get help in the classroom from assistants who are native speakers. Terry Salazar says the language barrier is not a learning barrier.
Just like anything else, I mean, if kids are having problems academically, they'll have problems in Spanish and in English, but if they don't, they make the transition into the Spanish and English very easily.
West Liberty started its dual language program 2 years ago. More grades are added as the students move up through the program. The district has federal funding for the project until they reach 4th grade. Organizers would like to continue the bilingual education into high school.
38% of our community is Hispanic. 50% of the students in West Elementary School are Hispanic, and 38% of those need second language help. So it's just fitting that we have a bilingual program for English and Spanish speakers to work together in both languages.
Parents say the program is a success. Mallory Smith's younger son is in the program. Her older son took English as a second language classes.
That meant speaking Spanish was not a good thing to him. That was the message that he got. And so he wouldn't speak to you in Spanish anymore. You'd speak to him in Spanish and he'd answer in English. Now Diego, who's in the dual language program, if you speak to him in Spanish, he answers you in Spanish because it's a legitimate language.
Smith says the dual language program is no different than wanting to enroll your child in chemistry. She says by exposing them to both languages and cultures at an early age, it's a formula for success. In West Liberty, Mike Wagner, KCRG TV9 News.
The students in the dual language program also get help at home. There's a special home-school partnership with parents and teachers to help apply what's taught in the classroom, and there's also a special summer school program. But on Saturday nights in West Liberty, the place to be is the racetrack. Racing has long been a part of the West Liberty scene, and one of the best dirt track racers in the state now calls our town West Liberty home. John Campbell reports.
Saturday night, and the West Liberty Raceway is jammed. Young and old there to watch the action.
It's a tough racetrack to get around. A lot of people, you know, come here and they, you know, the Kaziskis, they dread coming here because it's tough to get around. You've got to learn to respect it or it'll bite you.
The speaker is Steve Boley, the gentleman driving car number 26. 5 years ago, he turned his hobby into a business, Boley Motorsports.
I guess I don't know anything else, just the competitiveness of it. My family all like it, you know, my mom and dad enjoy it. It's just a big part of our life, and you know, we don't know what else to do besides go to the racetracks. And
yeah, he about lost it in turn 3 too and saved it, but he had a good first
Actually,
turn.
I keep all the lap times, let him know whether he's running a better lap high or low, wash the car, of course, cook the meals, keep everybody on an even keel.
Becky Boley's husband knows how to get the speed out of his car, and flaps over their rear wheels keep competitors from learning those secrets. And remember what he said about the track biting you? Check out his near accident during time trial.
I thought I was going to roll a car over.
The wreck happened later in the night. Number 11 gets underneath his rear end on the main straightaway.
It was early part of the race. I thought there should be a little courtesy, but I guess when you're running fast, nobody's going to give you any courtesy, so we just had to do double duty and go to the back and come back up through there.
Boley came back through the pack to finish a strong third in the O'Reilly All-Star Special. Then a philosophical approach to his luck that night.
What you work for is what you get, and we work hard to run up front. And, but we'll be back. We can't win them all.
Another night of racing wrapped up for Steve and Becky Boley of our town, West Liberty.
Becky Boley grew up in West Liberty, and she and Steve moved back there a year and a half ago. Steve Boley has won a ton of races in his day and is now teamed with Ron Alpin in the racing operation. And now we head west to our town, Belle Plaine. Why do some Iowans choose to live in small towns? Because they've seen the hustle and bustle of the big city, and now they're ready for a place that moves at a natural pace. You'll see that place and meet the couple who chose it. And no matter what you're looking for, you'll probably find it at the Ben Franklin store. We'll take you shopping in Belle Plaine after this. And welcome back to our town. Moving toward the future, that's Belle Plaine's town motto. The people of Belle Plaine are planning for the future, but they're still taking time to pay homage to their history along the Lincoln Highway. This Benton County community lies about 40 miles west of Cedar Rapids. Founded in 1862, nearly 3,000 people call Belle Plaine home. In the 1800s, many eastern Iowa communities grew and prospered with the coming of the railroad. But the railroad literally gave birth to Belle Plaine. In 1862, one rail company needed to lay 40 miles of track west of Cedar Rapids to keep a government land grant. A rest stop along the way became our town, Belle Plaine. As TV9's Dave Franzman reports, the early pioneers had to put up with a lot to keep our town growing.
The trains don't stop in Belle Plaine anymore, but they still roar right through the middle of town. It's been like this since the 1860s. But there was a community before the railroad and before Belle Plaine. It was founded by Tennessee native Hyrcanus Gwynn, first settler in the area. Gwynn didn't want to sell land to the railroad, and Gwynville eventually faded as a separate community.
37 years, but I feel like...
This plaque sits on a quiet street in Belle Plaine now, but imagine it's 1886. And there's a whole lot of shaking going on underground. say hello to Jumbo. Now, that's the name townspeople gave to an out-of-control artesian well right in the middle of town. It was drilled with the idea of supplying water to the south side of Belle Plaine. But Jumbo started flowing at a rate of 3,500 gallons a minute, and nobody could stop it.
When the stories left Belle Plaine, they grew even larger. As a matter of fact, in Europe, there were pictures of people on the tops of 4-story buildings because of the flooding that the Jumbo well had done.
Local historian Bev Winkie says that's an exaggeration, but not by much. It was like a flood that never quit. The water spewed with the force of a fire hose. The city even hired a diver to try to cap the well. It took 14 months to dry up the Jumbo well and seal it up for good.
It was a hot July day, there was a strong wind, and the wind just carried the flames.
Well, if Jumbo well wasn't enough of a disaster, try this. Just 8 years later and a few blocks away, a spark from a blacksmith shop torched the entire downtown, 5 blocks in all. Once again, townspeople dug deep to rebuild, with the slogan, Better Belle Plaine from ashes to elegance. 25 years later, the Model T was the elegant form of transportation, and Belle Plaine was right in the middle of things.
Well, if you want to talk about transportation in our town, Belle Plaine, you might want to go back to the year 1918. The Lincoln Highway, that was the year when the first 3 miles were paved, and in later years, one of the new Model Ts like this 1926 model would have bounced along from here to there, and that was transportation.
It was pretty rough on the cars, even though it was a paved highway. It wasn't uncommon to go to Cedar Rapids, maybe have 3 or 4 flat tires on a round trip.
Driving from New York to San Francisco must have been a real adventure in those days. And like the early days of the railroad, our town Belle Plaine was an important stop along the way, the country's first coast-to-coast highway.
Belle Plaine got its name shortly after the railroad came through. Some residents trying to think of a name glanced at the tall prairie grass sloping gently toward the Iowa River, and one man said it was beautiful. So that became the name, Belle Plaine, or Beautiful Plaine. Of all the places in the world, why would you want to live in our town, Belle Plaine? Just ask someone who calls our town home. We did, but we asked people who have also lived in other places. They say the answer is clear. Compared with other places in Iowa, or even big cities like Chicago, our town Belle Plaine is at the top of their list. Here's TV9's Joe Coffey.
Watch this. This is about as frantic as it gets in our town, Belle Plaine. These folks are clawing for a dozen ears of fresh sweet corn for $3 and hand-churned butter and cream for about $1. For Peggy Fredericks, this sure beats Chicago.
If you went down Main Street, one of the main streets in Chicago, you'd be, excuse me,
Peggy and Fred Fredericks hopped out of the Windy City 2 years ago. No more
heavy traffic, the short tempers that everyone has.
Belle Plaine fits like a glove.
There are a lot of old world standards in the older folks here.
You like that?
Yes, yes. They like, I don't want to see too much progress made in too short of a time. Let it happen naturally. Don't push it.
This was no overnight decision. Fred and Peggy visited Belle Plaine at least 6 times a year for 25 years. Their son and daughter married a sister and brother from Belle Plaine. All 3 couples live here now. Hank Werman was born and raised in Belle Plaine. He left for 20 years, living in different central and north central Iowa towns. He's now the senior vice president for Citizens Bank and Trust. He likes Belle Plaine for many reasons, but mostly because it's a pleasure doing business here.
We're pretty proud of this town. We think we've got a lot to look forward to.
Remember, Werman is from Belle Plaine. Fred Frederick says fitting in is a different story when you're an outsider.
You have to kind of work yourself in little by little.
Are you in?
I hope I've got the door open.
He's in. By the way, Fred was one word from living with the rich and famous. You see, he invented the sponge brush, but his patent described it as a cellulose sponge rather than just a plain sponge. That one word allowed vinyl sponge brush makers to sneak around his patent.
I'd be at Malibu Beach for the past 40 years if I had just made 1 penny from each brush.
That's okay, Fred. Plain sponge or not, whether you're rich or plain and simple, you're always welcome in our town, Belle Plaine.
There's another reason Fred Frederick says he loves Belle Plaine. While spending 30 years on the famous Chicago Fire Department, he was called a hero several times. But he says that title belongs to his heroes, the American farmers. He enjoys living among them in our town, Belle Plaine. And for nearly 20 years, the local Ben Franklin store in downtown Belle Plaine has offered one-stop shopping. TV9's Scott Sanborn takes us on a shopping spree through a store that offers just about everything.
You can really bag some bargains and meet some very friendly people at Ben Franklin's. They have just about anything you're looking for, from cookware to candles, pots to paintbrushes. They have big baskets to tiny baskets. Ben Franklin's has it all and then some. Their specialty items bring people in from miles around. Collectibles that include precious moments, cherished teddies, and Lang & Wise, just to name a few.
They have everything. Anything you need, you can find it at the Ben Franklin store.
And you come all the way from Cedar Rapids?
I come from Cedar Rapids. Well, I bring my car in for servicing and always intend to spend the waiting period here in the Ben Franklin store because I enjoy it so much.
Al Gokenauer opened this store in 1981, carrying on a family tradition. His father owned a Ben Franklin in Wisconsin. His brother operates the Waterloo store, and his son is a Ben Franklin owner in Eagle Grove. Al says he likes doing business in a small town.
Well, we do know everybody that comes in. We know the fellow merchants and the people that have been here, the leaders of the community. You know, we know everybody on a first-name basis.
Virginia Bergert is a regular customer at Belle Plaine's Ben Franklin, visiting the store once every week.
And I've shopped in different areas in the store, like in the fabric part and the dishes. I buy these kind of dishes here. And I buy, as you can see, I'm buying paper products.
So it's true that you can get just about anything you want here.
Right.
To give you an idea how popular the collectibles have become here at the Ben Franklin store, when they first started to feature the Boyd's Bears collection, it took up a space of about 4 feet. It has since expanded to 44 feet on both sides of the aisle.
We get a new customer come in, and that's always their first response is, what a wonderful selection we have. They've never seen anything bigger.
Shelley Roberts buys the gift items that Ben Franklin carries, and she says shoppers don't have to worry about missing out on new items.
We keep a mailing list on all of our customers, and so when the new products come out or we have a special event going on, we send out notice to all of our customers.
And do you think the collectibles bring in new people periodically?
Oh, definitely.
So the next time you need school supplies, toothpaste, puzzles and games, a bundle of yarn, or even cleaning products, take a trip to our town.
Have a nice day. Thanks.
The folks at Ben Franklin will be happy to check you out.
The number of Ben Franklin stores has declined over the years, but there are about 800 of them still in business. We complete our tour of eastern Iowa with our town, Elkader. It's a beauty. After renovating 76 buildings and creating 78 new jobs, downtown Elkader has a whole new look. We'll show you how they're doing it. Plus, rolling hills, a tranquil river, and green as far as the eye can see. The beauty of northeast Iowa draws outdoor enthusiasts and tourists alike. We'll show you more from our town, Elkader, in just a moment. Welcome back to our town. Our final stop on this eastern Iowa tour is Elkader. This northeast Iowa community of almost 1,500 was founded in 1846. It's nestled along the bluffs of the Turkey River in Clayton County, northwest of Dubuque. Elkader prides itself on its history, its beauty, and its progress, and that's why our town lives up to its motto, proud of our past, creating opportunities for our future. Elkader's past is very important to the people of its present. In the 1970s, local history buffs filled out applications for the National Register of Historic Places. The selection committee chose not one, not two, but 9 buildings in our town to be on its honored list. TV9's Renee Chu shows us why those 19th century buildings are still a source of pride in the 21st century.
They rest quietly on lawns, reach toward the sky, relax on the river. After more than a century, they've each earned a spot in an exclusive club, the National Register of Historic Places. The Price home is one that attracts its fair share of attention.
Occasionally, we will walk down the stairs in the morning and find people who are standing out on the sidewalk gazing up at our house.
Hyla and Bob Garms of Elkader may just have to get used to those stairs. Long before it became their home last September, it was the home of Rialto Price, an Elkader attorney who built it in 1876.
The house is so rich in history, and we both like that. My husband is a history teacher, and so that appeals to him.
In fact, living in this house is a history lesson every day. These photographed copies hanging on the wall show the Price family, while this plate hanging outside shows what it means for the whole community.
We don't get any grants or anything like that, but it just urges people to keep the appearance of the building, mostly on the outside.
And people also keep up the appearance on the inside as well, like the Opera House, which debuted in 1903. It's one of the few in the country which boasts a full horseshoe balcony. The original seats are showing their age. In 97 years, some things haven't changed, like this oleo featuring community advertisements. But there are other major changes. For example, no longer do opera performers take the stage, but instead you can catch performers from the Keystone Barbershop Chorus and the Opera House Players. And the people of Elkader want to make sure that you can enjoy performances for the next 97 years, but some major changes have to take place first.
We've never addressed accessibility. That's going to be done at this time so that maybe people don't have to climb the stairs to get in.
And they're proud and we want to restore everything.
Come into St. Joseph's Catholic Church and you've entered a sanctuary of history. The statues and the stained glass windows are all in their original 1897 condition. Other items of the church were sold off in the 60s to keep the church simple. Now there's a movement to literally find the church's history piece by piece.
And this is a Gothic church. This is like the European churches. It should be busy. It should have all those things in it. Some of us, including myself, tried to get those pieces back and put back into the church.
It's this kind of personal commitment to preserving the past that makes our town so special. You see, these buildings represent the past, live in the present, most likely will stand tall in the future in our town.
Nominations to the National Register of Historic Places have to first go through the State Review Committee. Historians, archaeologists, and architectural historians make up that group. The National Register staff in Washington, D.C. selects the final site. Owners of National Register property are not required to open it to the public. For example, the Price home we showed you is private, but owners Bob and Hyla Garms say they're considering letting people come in to see the home's historic past. Elkader is also one of 31 Iowa communities which participate in the National Main Street program. Its purpose is to rebuild downtown areas all across America. TV9's Craig Brown shows us how the Main Street Elkader project relies on local funding and old-fashioned hard work.
And the rain's not going to run where it's supposed to, so we're just going to put a drop ceiling in the very back part.
Tim and Becky Deitzler are gutting what used to be Elkader's Main Street Hotel 103 years ago.
There was like 6 layers of wallpaper on here that I scraped off.
The couple will use the building for their ag business and office space, but the renovation is part of a larger scheme.
So we want to put it back to what it used to look like.
Just up the street, pharmacist Jay Moser is doing the same thing. He bought his neighboring building and spent $20,000 to make it look old.
Back in the 60s, it was modernized, you know, make it look new, and now it's reverting back the other way. So hopefully that's a positive for our town.
In a day and age when most small Midwest towns are drying up, Elkader, Iowa is digging into its past to build an economic future. Town residents say they've found success in a program called Main Street. Over the last decade, store owners renovated 76 buildings. That's nearly every building in town. The idea is simple: spend money to make money. During the 10 years of the program, Elkader has seen 37 new business starts, relocations or expansions, and 78 new jobs.
It does what it's supposed to do, but it takes cooperation.
Main Street's latest project is Streetscapes 2000. An army of 300 volunteers refurbished new light poles. The city department paid to fix the curb and gutter, and store owners renovated sidewalks. But not everything that's new is old. For example, this may look like brick, but it's not. One of the more interesting aspects to Main Street Elkader is its crosswalks. Now, the asphalt here at the intersection was heated, and a grid was laid over to make it look like brick. A red dye was used to finish the effect. Perhaps the biggest benefit of Main Street is a sense of accomplishment, that a town of 1,500 people can work together as a team to save the town they love.
You get this feeling of working with each other and of sharing and just being a real community.
So far, private businesses have donated $2 million to the program. The next Main Street project is to remove the chain link fence from the Keystone Bridge. Town residents will replace it with a 1924 replica wrought iron railing. That'll be nice. It's been said Elkader is the beginning of God's country. Most of Iowa is fairly similar when it comes to the lay of the land, but not Elkader. There are hills there, not just hills, but rolling hills. TV9's Joe Coffey shows us why Elkader is considered the little Switzerland of Iowa.
Traveling the road to Elkader is like finding an unexpected surprise. The city rests like a kingdom in the northeast Iowa hills.
People from the rest of Iowa are usually surprised when they come here to see that, wow, you really got hills. It's beautiful here.
Just think, all of Iowa could be like this, but the last big glacier that flattened the rest of the state just missed this corner of Iowa. The result is magical. The green seems greener in Elkader. Even the clouds seem lazier. Now, this is still Iowa. There's corn here, too. And how? It jumps out of the rich soil in these fertile valleys. Listen, you can hear it growing. The Turkey River winds through the hills with all the time in the world. In addition to the natural beauty here in Elkader, there's also a beauty to the historic man-made landmarks in this area. This is the motor mill, built in the early 1860s. Now, 4 different masons built each wall of this structure, and they each incorporated a different masonry style.
This has really kind of been a well-kept secret for many years. We were maybe a little smug or something. We thought it was nice, and we liked it, and we didn't develop tourism as we should have. But now that we have a wonderful campground where people can come and stay, and then they can one day go to the north, one day to the south, one day to the east.
Bed and breakfast fans are in for a treat. From here, you can stroll just about anywhere in town. Just imagine sitting here for a few hours, enjoying a meal and watching the Turkey River slip under the historic Keystone Bridge. You can chase the white ball where hops once grew. An old hops barn is now the clubhouse at the Elkader Golf and Country Club. Still, it is the natural beauty that is the main draw here in this corner of eastern Iowa. The beginning of God's country, they call it. If nature is the art of God, Elkader is a showpiece.
Oh, and by the way, there are 2 beautiful nature trails by the motor mill you just saw. The mill is actually located just outside Elkader in Clayton County. Had the Mills Bridge not washed out long ago, it would perhaps be the center of downtown Elkader today. Well, that wraps up our 2000 tour of Eastern Iowa. We hope you've enjoyed visiting Grundy Center, West Liberty, Belle Plaine, and Elkader. We chose these communities because they're just a sample of what makes Iowa a great state. Our towns are our future, and we hope you join us in supporting them. I'm Denny Prairie. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.
This Our Town Special was brought to you by your area Chevrolet dealers.